The holographic projection from the crystal pulsed with an eerie blue light that cast strange shadows across Ilara's laboratory. She adjusted the sensitivity on her scanner and watched as more ancient symbols flowed through the air. Most remained indecipherable, but that one phrase kept reappearing. Earth, they watch over a greater threat. Computer, run another cross-reference with known extinct language patterns, Ilara said, rubbing her eyes. 3 days with minimal sleep was taking its toll, but she couldn't stop now. The importance of this discovery gnawed at her consciousness. The computer chimed. 7 distinct language patterns identified. Oldest estimated at 97,300 years before present era. Newest estimated at 28,500 years before present era. Ilara's hand trembled as she reached for her comm device. Humanity had only achieved interstellar travel 40 years ago, discovering the ruins on Proxima Centauri barely 5 years past. The implication that multiple extinct civilizations knew about Earth long before humans had even developed agriculture was staggering. Commander Hassan's face appeared on the screen, his expression shifting from annoyance to concern when he saw her. "Dr. Morgan, you look like you haven't slept in days. Talib, I need you to implement Security Protocol Delta on my findings immediately," she said, ignoring his comment. "And I need transport back to Earth on the next available vessel." His eyebrows rose. "That's a highest-level classification. What exactly have you found?" Ilara glanced at the crystal, still pulsing with that haunting blue light. "Not over comms. But I'll tell you this much. Everything we thought we knew about humanity's place in the galaxy is wrong." 3 days later, Ilara stood at the viewport of the transport ship Galileo *, watching as Earth grew from a small blue dot to the familiar swirl of oceans and continents. Strange how it looked so ordinary, so peaceful from this distance, when her discovery suggested it might be the most significant planet in the Orion Arm. Beautiful, isn't it? She turned to find Talib standing beside her, his tall frame silhouetted against the stars. He boarded at the Mars transfer station, insisting on hearing her findings in person before they reached Earth. "I've reviewed your preliminary data," he said quietly. "The translation algorithms confirm your findings, but the implications are difficult to accept." Ilara nodded. 7 different species, separated by tens of thousands of years, all leaving the same warning about Earth, a planet they shouldn't have known existed. "And the dating?" he asked. "Confirmed through 3 independent methods. The oldest message predates human civilization by nearly 90,000 years." She turned to face him fully. "Talib, they knew about us before we existed in our current form. They were watching Earth." "Why?" Before he could answer, the ship's alarms blared. The captain's voice echoed through the corridors. "All passengers secure for emergency maneuvers. Unusual energy signature detected in Earth orbit." Ilara and Talib exchanged glances. Through the viewport, they watched as aurora-like lights began to dance in Earth's upper atmosphere, forming patterns too regular, too precise to be natural. "It's starting," Ilara whispered, a cold dread settling in her stomach. Whatever those ancient civilizations were warning about, "I think it's waking up." Talib's hand moved instinctively to where his service weapon would have been in his military days. "How could you possibly know that?" Ilara held up the data crystal, which had begun pulsing in sync with the lights surrounding Earth. "Because the warning wasn't just about Earth," she said quietly. It was also a countdown. The emergency landing at Quito International Spaceport left Ilara and Talib with little time to process what they'd witnessed from orbit. Global communications remained spotty, with the aurora-like phenomena disrupting satellite systems worldwide. They commandeered a ground transport to the nearby Andes Research Facility, where Dr. Isabella Ruiz had been analyzing the data Ilara sent ahead. "The energy signature matches nothing in our databases," Isabella explained, gesturing toward the holographic display showing disruption patterns across Earth's magnetosphere. "But when I compared it to the frequency patterns encoded in your crystal," she overlaid the 2 patterns. "The match was undeniable." "That's impossible," Talib whispered, but the evidence floated before them, the patterns pulsing in perfect synchronization. Ilara's tablet chimed with an incoming message. "The Chinese Lunar Observatory has sent new data," she said, scanning the information. "Similar energy signatures have been detected near the ruins on Proxima, and now at 6 other locations across the Orion Arm. All match the coordinates where extinct civilizations were discovered." Talib pulled up a star chart, marking each location. "It forms a pattern," he observed, connecting the points. "A spiral with Earth at the center." "Not the center," Ilara corrected, her voice tight with realization. "The endpoint." The facility lights flickered again, longer this time. Outside, the Andean sky shimmered with colors that shouldn't be possible in Earth's atmosphere. "The extinction events," Isabella said suddenly. "What if they weren't natural disasters or wars like we assumed? What if they were the result of whatever is happening now?" Ilara's mind raced through possibilities. The timing matches. Each civilization vanished within decades after leaving messages about Earth. They knew something was coming, something connected to our planet. But why Earth? Talib asked, his military pragmatism seeking logical answers. What makes our planet special enough for 7 advanced civilizations to monitor before humans even existed? Before anyone could respond, the building shook with a low-frequency rumble. Dust drifted from the ceiling as the tremors intensified. Earthquake. Isabella moved toward the emergency protocol station. "No." Ilara's eyes remained fixed on her readings. "The epicenter is too deep, at least 100 kilometers below the surface. And it's moving." On the monitors, seismic stations worldwide began reporting similar phenomena, incredibly deep movement patterns that defied geological understanding. Something was stirring far beneath Earth's crust, something massive. Talib received an emergency broadcast from United Earth Command. His expression darkened as he listened to the transmission. "What is it?" Ilara asked when he disconnected. "Similar seismic anomalies at every location we've discovered ancient ruins on Earth. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, Gunung Padang in Indonesia, the underwater structures off Japan." He met her gaze. Every site older than 10,000 years is activating simultaneously. Ilara's tablet projected a global map highlighting the anomalies. The pattern was unmistakable. They formed a perfect geometric grid around the planet. "It's not a coincidence," she whispered. "These weren't just archaeological sites. They're components of a system, a network that spans the entire planet." Isabella pointed to new alerts appearing on the main screen. "Energy readings are spiking at each location. Whatever's been dormant is waking up." Through the facility's windows, they watched as the Andean sky darkened unnaturally, the aurora-like lights consolidating into angular patterns that hurt the eyes to observe directly. 7 civilizations didn't just leave warnings, Ilara said quietly. They left instructions. "We need to get to Göbekli Tepe immediately. If I'm right, that's where we'll find the control center." The excavation site at Göbekli Tepe had transformed in the 36 hours since Ilara's initial discovery. International research teams worked alongside military personnel, all trying to understand the ancient chamber that had activated beneath the stone monoliths. The handprint that Talib had pressed still glowed with an internal light that defied scientific explanation. "The material isn't stone," Dr. Kiyoshi Tanaka explained as he guided Ilara and Talib deeper into the chamber. "It appears to be stone, but molecular analysis shows a carbon-silicon matrix unlike anything in our material science database. It's self-repairing and seems to respond to human touch specifically." Ilara ran her fingers along the wall murals. Each depicted humans standing between stylized stars and a darkness that seemed to swallow light. "These aren't artistic representations," she said quietly. "They're instructions." In the center of the chamber, a technical team had assembled equipment around the 3-dimensional star map that hovered above a circular platform. Earth pulsed at its center, surrounded by concentric fields of energy. "We've confirmed your theory, Dr. Morgan," said Colonel Wei from Earth Defense Command. Similar chambers have been located at 11 sites worldwide, each activating in sequence, but this one appears to be the central hub. Taleb studied the star map. The energy fields around Earth, their containment layers, aren't they? Ilara nodded. A prison. And these murals suggest humanity was placed here as its wardens. The crystal from Proxima pulsed more intensely as Ilara approached the platform. Acting on instinct, she placed it into a receptacle that matched its exact dimensions. The star map expanded, filling the chamber with light. New information streamed through the projection. Genetic sequences, molecular structures, and mathematical equations beyond current human understanding. It's a codex, Ilara breathed, her eyes struggling to process the information flow. The complete history of us. A section of the chamber wall slid open, revealing the hidden alcove. Inside stood a preservation chamber containing what appeared to be a human skeleton, but subtle differences in the skull and limb proportions marked it as not quite Homo sapiens. Proto-human, Dr. Tanaka whispered after a quick scan. But the dating. This can't be right. What does it say? Taleb demanded. 175,000 years old, but with genetic modifications that weren't possible with Earth science until the last decade. Ilara approached the chamber, drawn by glyphs etched into its surface. As her fingers traced the symbols, knowledge flooded her mind, not merely understood but experienced, as if she had always known it. They called themselves the Alliance, she said, her voice distant. 7 species united against a cosmic entity that consumed worlds. They found Earth, with its primitive hominids showing unusual potential. They accelerated our evolution, encoded knowledge in our DNA to be unlocked when needed. The chamber's lights pulsed in rhythm with her words, confirming each revelation. Humanity wasn't just another species evolving on a random planet. Taleb realized, the implications dawning on him. We were engineered with a purpose. Ilara nodded, continuing to extract information from the glyphs. The entity they imprisoned feeds on consciousness itself. It can only be contained by minds complex enough to comprehend it yet unpredictable enough to resist its influence. The ground beneath them trembled. Throughout the chamber, equipment registered increasing seismic activity and energy fluctuations. The defense system is failing, Ilara said, the knowledge streaming from the glyphs becoming more urgent. The prisoner is awakening after thousands of years of dormancy. Taleb looked at the star map, where the innermost containment field around Earth was showing signs of destabilization, and we're the only thing standing between it and freedom. The United Nations emergency session descended into chaos as the main screen displayed live footage from the International Lunar Observatory. The spatial distortions around Earth's orbit had intensified, creating patterns that resembled fractures in reality itself. Representatives from major world powers shouted over each other, while military advisors whispered urgently into communication devices. Order. Secretary General Okafor slammed her gavel repeatedly. Dr. Morgan has the floor. Ilara stepped to the podium, acutely aware that humanity's future might hinge on the next few minutes. The data crystal from Proxima pulsed in her palm, synchronized with the strange energies surrounding Earth. The chambers we've discovered beneath ancient sites worldwide aren't ruins, she began, her voice steadied despite her exhaustion. They're components of a planetary defense system, designed to contain an entity that destroyed multiple civilizations before humanity even existed. Murmurs rippled through the assembly as she displayed holographic models of the activated structures around the globe. These structures were built by an alliance of 7 advanced species who engineered early humans to maintain this system. We were created specifically to be wardens of this prison. The Chinese ambassador rose. You expect us to believe humanity exists because aliens needed jailers. This is preposterous. Before Ilara could respond, every communication device in the chamber activated simultaneously. Emergency broadcasts from across the globe streamed real-time footage of the ancient structures now fully emerged from their hiding places. A massive pyramid rising from the Amazon rainforest, a crystalline tower ascending from the Mariana Trench, geometric formations breaking through Antarctic ice. Colonel Wei's voice cut through the stunned silence. Satellite confirmation of 17 major structures activated worldwide. Each is generating an energy field that our instruments cannot fully analyze. The Japanese Prime Minister received an urgent message, his face paling as he read it. The structure in the Sea of Japan has disabled 3 military vessels that approached. No casualties, but all systems completely shut down. Their defensive measures, Talib explained, joining Ilara at the podium. The system is protecting itself while it comes fully online. The assembly fell silent as the main screen shifted to a live feed from space. Jupiter's great red spot was expanding unnaturally, swirling with colors that shouldn't exist in nature. As they watched, Io, one of the gas giant's moons, flickered like a faulty hologram before vanishing completely. What just happened? Okafor demanded. The first containment layer has failed, Ilara said, the knowledge flowing from the data crystal to her mind with increasing urgency. The entity, what the ancient records call the Devourer, is breaking free after thousands of years of imprisonment. The Brazilian president stood. If this threat is real, what can we possibly do against something that destroys moons? As if in answer, the ground beneath New York trembled. Outside the UN building, witnesses reported a strange light rising from beneath the East River. Similar reports flooded in from cities worldwide. Ancient technologies awakening beneath population centers where they had lain dormant for millennia. The defense system requires human operators, Ilara explained as new information cascaded through her consciousness. That's why we were created with our specific cognitive patterns. The system is calling for those whose genetic memories contain the necessary knowledge. On screens worldwide, civilians with no previous connection were being drawn toward the ancient structures, their eyes alight with recognition of something they had never consciously known existed. It's beginning, Talib whispered. Humanity is remembering its purpose. The makeshift laboratory near the Gobekli taped structure hummed with activity as Dr. Katsuo Yamamoto calibrated the frequency emitter. Outside, the sky pulsed with impossible colors as aurora-like patterns spread across the globe. Reports indicated that the ancient defense structures were operating at only 30% capacity, not enough to contain the Devourer as it pressed against weakening dimensional barriers. The structures need human operators with activated genetic memories, Ilara explained to the assembled international team. But the natural activation process is too slow. We need to accelerate it. Katsuo nodded toward the volunteer strapped to the examination chair. Talib, his face a mask of determined calm. The frequency patterns emitted by the ancient structures appear to trigger protein folding in specific segments of what we previously dismissed as junk DNA. These segments contain compressed information, memories passed down from our engineered ancestors. Colonel Wei frowned at the readings. You're saying these extinct aliens hid an instruction manual in our DNA? More like an emergency activation protocol, Ilara corrected. The Alliance knew their prison might eventually weaken. They encoded everything we would need to know directly into our genetic material, designed to activate only when the containment began to fail. Katsuo initiated the sequence. The emitter bathed Talib in light pulsing at the exact frequency of the ancient structures. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then Talib gasped, his back arching as his eyes widened in shock. I see them, he whispered, tears streaming down his face. The 7 species of the Alliance. They chose Earth after losing 32 worlds to the Devourer. His words came faster as memories cascaded through his consciousness. Knowledge from ancestors engineered over 150,000 years ago. They found primitive hominids here with unusual neural plasticity. They accelerated our evolution, encoded their knowledge into our DNA. His hands trembled as ancient memories surfaced. They gave us specific traits, pattern recognition beyond any species they'd encountered, extreme adaptability, capacity for both aggression and deep empathy. Why those traits specifically? Colonel Wei asked. The devourer feeds on consciousness, Talib explained, his eyes unfocused as he accessed knowledge older than human civilization. It can predict and manipulate minds that follow logical patterns. Our unpredictability, our emotional reasoning. They create thought patterns the entity cannot fully comprehend or control. Ilara studied the genetic sequencing displayed on the main screen. We were designed as the perfect wardens, she realized. Technological enough to maintain the systems, but with cognitive patterns resistant to the entity's influence. The ground trembled as another containment layer weakened. Through the laboratory windows, they watched as the ancient structure's glow intensified, responding to Talib's activated genetic memory. Katsuo examined Talib's brain scans with amazement. The activation is spreading beyond the initial memory centers. It's like his entire neural network is being rewired. Talib suddenly stood, moving with newfound purpose toward the structure. I know how to operate the defense grid, he said with quiet certainty. But we need more activated operators. Thousands more. Ilara turned to the communications officer. Broadcast the activation frequency globally. Use every available channel. As the officer complied, Ilara caught Talib's arm. What else do you see in these memories? What happened to the Alliance? His expression darkened. They're gone, Ilara. Every member species of the Alliance was hunted to extinction after Earth's prison was established. We're truly alone in this fight, the last warden standing between the devourer and the rest of the galaxy. The secured conference room in Geneva had become humanity's strategic command center as representatives with activated memories coordinated global defense efforts. Holographic displays showed the ancient structures worldwide, now operating at 60% capacity as more humans connected with their genetic heritage. Ilara studied the timeline extracted from collective genetic memories, a devastating history that spanned millions of years. The memories revealed civilizations far more advanced than humanity falling one by one to an entity that consumed not just worlds, but the fabric of reality itself. The devourer began as a scientific experiment gone wrong, explained Dr. Nadia Petrova, a Russian physicist whose genetic memories had activated hours earlier. The Luminar, the oldest Alliance species, created it while attempting to harness energy from parallel dimensions. They couldn't destroy it, added General Santos, his eyes reflecting knowledge no human had consciously possessed for millennia. It exists partially outside normal spacetime. Containment was their only option. On the main display, Jupiter's atmosphere continued to distort as the devourer's influence grew stronger. 3 more moons had vanished, and strange geometric anomalies were forming throughout the solar system. After 30 civilizations fell, the 7 remaining Alliance species chose Earth as their final stand. Ilara continued, assembling the collective knowledge. Its unique position at a dimensional weak point made it the perfect anchor for a prison that extends across multiple realities. Talib highlighted sections of the genetic memory database they'd compiled. They knew the prison might eventually weaken. Humanity was their contingency plan, designed to evolve independently and activate only when needed. The Brazilian representative, Marina Coelho, stood up. The civilizations Dr. Morgan discovered, the ones that left warnings about Earth, were the last Alliance members. Her voice trembled with emotion accessed from genetic memory. As the devourer hunted them to extinction, they sent those messages as their final act. A Ukrainian scientist who had been analyzing data from orbital telescopes interrupted with urgent news. The anomalies are spreading faster than predicted. At current progression rates, the devourer will breach the final containment layer within 18 hours. Silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. Humanity, a species that had only recently developed space travel, now faced a cosmic horror that had destroyed civilizations thousands of years more advanced. We need to activate the inner defense grid, Talib said, bringing up schematics extracted from his genetic memories. The structures we've seen are just the outer layer. The core system extends through Earth's mantle. That system requires millions of activated humans working in perfect synchronization, General Santos objected. Even with the global broadcast, we've only reached a small percentage of the population. Ilara studied the planetary displays, noting how the activation was spreading. It's not just the broadcast. Proximity to the structures is triggering natural activation. The system was designed this way. In an emergency, the defense network itself would awaken its operators. Outside the conference room, the skies darkened further as reality itself seemed to warp. The ancient prison was failing, and humanity, a species that had only discovered its true purpose days ago, now faced the impossible task of containing an entity that had consumed entire galaxies. "We aren't just fighting for Earth," Marina said quietly. "We're fighting for everything. We are the last wardens standing between the Devourer and the universe itself." Jupiter's transformation came without warning. The gas giant's swirling clouds suddenly froze in place, then shattered like glass. Astronomers worldwide watched in horror as the planet's mass compressed into impossible geometries before vanishing entirely. In its place hung a dark vortex that bent light around its edges, a wound in reality itself. On Earth, the effects were immediate and catastrophic. Gravity reversed in coastal regions of the Pacific Rim, causing water to rise upward in twisted columns. Time distortions appeared in population centers. Moscow reported people aging backwards, while sections of Rio de Janeiro experienced the same 3 minutes repeating endlessly. In the Tokyo Command Center, Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura monitored the global defense network with growing desperation. "The Devourer has breached the outer containment layer completely," he reported to the Emergency Council. "It's entering our dimension faster than predicted." Through the command center windows, they watched as ordinary citizens responded to the ancient structure's call. A subway conductor with no scientific background approached the defense pillar in Tokyo Bay, his eyes glowing with activated genetic memory, as his hands moved across control surfaces with practiced ease. Similar scenes played out globally. A kindergarten teacher in Nairobi, a fisherman in Norway, a teenager in Peru, all suddenly accessing knowledge hidden in their DNA for thousands of generations. "The system is recognizing compatible operators," Ilara explained, watching the data stream in from around the world. "The original engineering was more sophisticated than we realized. Different humans were designed to interface with different components of the defense network." Taleb studied the global activation pattern with military precision. "There's a sequence emerging. The system is self-organizing, directing operators where they're most needed." Military forces, initially deployed to contain panic, quickly recognized the pattern. General Williams of the North American Defense Command made an unprecedented decision. "All units reconfigure to support and protect activated civilians. I repeat, priority is protecting activated operators at all defense structures." Within hours, a new kind of order emerged from the chaos. Military helicopters transported awakened operators to remote structures. Medical teams supported those whose bodies struggled with the neurological changes of rapid activation. Communication networks prioritized coordination between defense sites. In orbit, astronauts aboard the International Space Station reported the unthinkable. Stars were disappearing as the Devourer's influence spread across the solar system. Yet humanity's response continued to strengthen. The ancient network hummed with increasing power as more operators connected, each bringing unique cognitive patterns the Devourer couldn't predict. "This is why we were engineered this way," Ilara realized, watching the global effort unfold. "Our balance of individual creativity and collective cooperation. Each human operates independently while contributing to the whole." In Kenya, an elder with activated memories led her village in a ritual that matched the frequency patterns needed to stabilize a defense pillar. In Shanghai, a mathematics professor intuitively solved equations that had stumped supercomputers. In Mexico City, a street artist's creative problem-solving allowed a failing defense node to reconfigure itself. The Devourer's advance slowed, then paused, as humanity's full potential awakened. For the first time since the Alliance fell, the prison had wardens who could adapt as quickly as the prisoner. "We're holding it back," Taleb said with carefully measured hope. But the inner containment layer is still deteriorating. We need to access the central mechanism. Ilara nodded grimly. According to the genetic memories, it's hidden at Earth's core. We need to reach it before the devourer fully manifests in our reality. In the aftermath, Earth emerged transformed. The ancient structures, no longer needed to maintain the old prison, reconfigured themselves into networks that enhanced human civilization. Technologies derived from activated genetic memories advanced human science by centuries within months. Standing at the United Nations Plaza 3 months later, Ilara gazed at the memorial being constructed, a monument to both the alliance that created humanity and the countless humans who had given their lives during the containment crisis. The new dimensional anchor, visible as a subtle aurora that permanently encircled the planet, served as a constant reminder of humanity's true purpose. The activation is still spreading, Talib reported, joining her at the observation deck. Nearly 60% of the population now has partial access to genetic memory. The children born since the crisis all show complete activation. Ilara nodded. The Alliance engineered us better than they knew. Each generation will be more connected to our true heritage. She studied the holographic displays showing the first human outposts being established throughout the solar system. We're expanding faster than anyone thought possible. With the knowledge recovered from genetic memory, humanity had begun rebuilding the ancient warning system, establishing outposts on worlds the Alliance had once inhabited. The warnings left by those extinct civilizations, once a mystery, now served as memorial markers as humans reclaimed the legacy of their creators. We received a transmission from the Proxima Centauri expedition, Talib said quietly. They found evidence that the devourer destroyed at least 3 galaxies before the Alliance managed to contain it. We're not just protecting Earth. We're the only thing standing between it and countless worlds that don't even know the threat exists. Ilara watched as a group of children played in the plaza, their games unconsciously mimicking the dimensional mathematics they now instinctively understood. Humanity was changing, becoming what the Alliance had always intended. Guardians with the unique cognitive abilities needed to contain a cosmic horror. The devourer is still testing the barriers, she noted, feeling the subtle pressure against the new containment field through her enhanced connection. It will never stop trying to break free. And will never stop evolving to contain it, Talib responded with quiet confidence. That's our purpose, the reason we exist. Above them, the first starships designed with recovered Alliance technology prepared for their maiden voyages. Humanity was taking its place among the stars, not merely for exploration or expansion, but with a sacred duty passed down from those who had created them. The message from the extinct cultures, Earth, they watch over a greater threat, had been inscribed on the base of the memorial in every human language. What had once been a mysterious warning had become humanity's proud purpose. They were not cosmic accidents on an insignificant planet, but inheritors of the greatest responsibility in the galaxy, wardens of a prison containing a threat beyond comprehension. As twilight fell and the dimensional aurora brightened against the darkening sky, Ilara reflected on how quickly humanity had adapted to this new understanding of themselves. Perhaps that was the Alliance's greatest achievement, creating guardians who could face the impossible without breaking, who could stare into cosmic horror and respond not with despair, but with determination. They were the last wardens standing, and they would not fail.